Hey everybody, Mr. O'Donnell here, walking you through your iPad. This time, this tutorial is going to walk you through how to be able to take the iPad cover off in order to be able to attach it to the tripods that we're going to be using, the iPad mount. The reason being is that this iPad, with its big rubberized holder, it cannot necessarily fit in here. So we need to be able to take this off. I want you to be careful as always with these things. For the most part, we've been really good this year. Once we get this thing off, remember it is a giant piece of glass and metal, so we want to be careful as we attach it to the mount. So here's your steps. There's two pieces that make up the iPad cover. This black hard plastic shell that is wrapped around by this rubber silicone cushioned piece. In order to be able to take this off, what we first need to be able to do is take the black shell off. And so on the sides here, horizontally, you can see that there's two places on the top and the bottom where it attaches, and there's simply just kind of a seam between these two. What you're going to do is you're going to put your fingernail in between that spot and just pry it and lift it up. Same thing on the other side, and it just does a simple little pop. Leaving that there, do the same thing as you rotate the device around. Every time where there is that seam between the orange and the black, you put your fingernail inside that seam and just lift up. Should have a little bit of a pop to it. There we go. And it's starting to feel like it's coming out. Do the same thing on the other side. And one more on the last one. And then the black part comes off. From there, now all that is left is just the silicone orange piece, which is going to be just, you peel it back very gently. In the corners you can see, give that thing just a little bit of a peel back. And the iPad starts to come free. Keep working your way around the device until it comes out. Once you can kind of be able to get your finger into the side, if you just simply pull it out, and it's going to come out all together. Now we have the iPad all by itself. It's been in here for a little bit, so give it a quick little sort of a brush off. Then the next step is we need to be able to attach this onto that iPad mount so we can get it onto the tripod. This is our iPad mount. What this is going to allow you to be able to do is be able to take the iPad, snap it into place, squeeze it into place, and then with this piece on the bottom, be able to screw that into any of our tripods. You should be finding your mount that has the same number that matches up to your iPad. And there's a couple different places of things that you can adjust this. This is at the front. You can see everything's stuck in place, but we can move some things. So on the side, it says press. If you can see there, if I push onto that, I can start to lift up the top. That extends this mount quite a bit. And if I put in my iPad, I can see that definitely fits the entire iPad. That's the adjuster slider on the top. I can push that back in. In the back, there's a couple ones as well. First off, you can see one down here. This will slide up the bottom piece if I wanted to be able to adjust it and make it higher or lower there. And lastly, there's this other one that sits right here on the back in the middle. This allows a slide. We're not going to necessarily use this one right now. This is if you would want to screw this into the tripod and you want to be able to do some recordings where you can be able to have your iPad shooting down or up at a different angle. So we're only going to use the back one to slide up and down. I would recommend let's have this all the way to the bottom, And then on the side slider, this is the one that we're going to lift up a little bit. So now we have that slider about that size. Next, I'm going to put the iPad on here. Want to be able to, as always with the iPads, try to be able to have the camera on the top. So if this is the bottom of the mount, I want the camera to be up here, not flip the thing around so the camera is in the lower corner. Easy way to remember is just the power button is on the home button is on the left-hand side. So we're going to put this iPad inside the mount. If you look inside of these, it's made of a rubber, so it's a bit cushiony. And then I'm just going to start to push this down. I can hear it start to ratchet in. Make sure that I'm sort of centered there. And it slides through. It's not very snug, so I want you to be able to push this until it's snug. Now, snug is not the word that we talked about at the beginning of the year, which is force. Do not force this, okay? Push down until you hear it ratchet, until you can't really go a whole bunch more. Do not force it after that point. Then it's relatively snug. The iPad, if you put my hands on the side, I should be able to push one another and not have enough and not have it move at all. Last piece is now we need to attach this to the tripod. All right, for our final step, now we're doing get to know your tripod. The word tripod comes from the fact that this has 3 separate legs that can come out. The tripod is essential if you want to be able to have your camera stay steady and have you away from it, or you can be next to it, but you do not want to have any movement at all. All the tripods will be numbered. This is number 8, and this is going to correspond to the same iPad that you're using, the same mount that you're using. All of them can be found directly over there by going into the cabinet for the iPads and the mounts. So you're going to pull this out. Hopefully it has been completely put back by the kid that used it before, asking you guys to do the same. So let's take a quick little look here. The very bottom of the of the tripod are these feet. We talked about you guys when you're moving, you want your feet to stay steady. Same thing with these. The feet on the tripod should stay down all the time. These are nice and rubber, so they should fit snug. Next we have the legs. In order to open up these legs, just grab anywhere and pull out, and you should see this kind of drop down, and now you have a very small tripod that fits just about kind of chest high or so. In order to be able to get this to be able at eye level, there are different locks. These are the leg locks. These leg locks, you can see, they're just little pieces of plastic that you're going to lift up. That will release them. So there are 3 of them. Each time, for each of them, allows a different part of the leg to extend. The lower leg will be the first one. There's the middle leg, and then the upper leg. I undid all 3 of them, and now by pulling them out, this extends all the way. So the usual part is let's be able to grab it to be able to do that and let them come out. So open up all 3 of them. Once I feel that they're all the way out, I'm going to do the opposite and push this little lever back down. Should be nice and snug as usual. Do not force. Now that leg is down. I'm going to do the same thing for the other ones. Watch, I'll open up 1, let gravity open it up. There's number 2, number 3. Make sure that they're all out all the way and cinch them snug. 1, 2, and 3. There they all go. Now our tripod is set. Tripod can stand here on the ground, and you can see it's quite very sturdy. We need to be able to get the iPad mounted onto this. That comes from at the very top. Every tripod, every other pods, you can have things called monopods. They're all going to have a bolt, kind of like a screw, but a flat bolt that sits at the very top of the tripod. And at the bottom of every device that will attach, you're going to see a very similar a part that goes with that. And you can see the hole that goes on there. That hole is going to connect to that bolt right there. The question then is, how do I get this onto this? And I have seen lots of different ways. Some kids will try to be able to take the tripod, put it on it, and screw it, or have someone hold this, and then I will try to be able to screw this device on it. That's not how it works. On this one, we were going to call this whole area a plate, because this plate sits on top of the rest of the tripod. And there's a little lever here that makes this plate into what we call a quick release plate. By lifting this, now I can take this entire plate off of it. I'm going to put the tripod down now. Now I can see the plate here has the bolt on it. On the bottom side of it, there's a place where I can lift it open, and simply I'm going to screw that on to the mount. So let's put these 2 together. This is a very small piece of plastic and easy to be able to manipulate now. So I'm going to put one of them onto the other, start to screw this on. Now if I notice it's a bit awkward at an angle, I want to straighten that out. Start tightening. As always, the word we want to get to is snug, not forcing it. Now the quick release plate is snug onto that. Push that flap closed. Now this is all together. Finally, let's put them all together now. iPad's attached to the mount. Mount is attached to the quick release plate. Quick release plate now is just going to go right back into and on that tripod. And the direction that we're going to go, if this is the front of it, you're going to take it here and do just simply hold it. Change my handle on that a little bit. Hold this here, push it down on the front, and open up that quick release plate and then push it back in. I'm doing this holding it up to the camera. I would like you to do this while it is on the ground here. Let me show that again. If I have it back here, I'm going to take that, push the front end in first, open up the quick release plate, and then close it in. Now this iPod, last chance, the iPad is now completely set and it is here. So from here I can now do a multitude of different things. Let me briefly show you what the directions can use with a tripod. In order to do this, I'm going to take off the iPad first so I can show you a little bit more of the directions of the tripod. So holding up and taking a look at the tripod, I see lots of different levers here. Let me bring up these legs a little bit so you can see better. So now looking here, I have a couple different knobs and levers that can adjust this. Right now, the iPad or the camera would just be looking straight. There's a handle in the back. That handle is pretty snug, but if I loosen up that handle, I realize I can now go move the head of the tripod up and down. And if you can remember what that is called tilting the camera up and down. If I get to a spot, let's say if I'm going to shoot something much lower, I can get it to there, then tighten that down till it's snug. Now if I try to move it, it's set in place. That is to adjust the tilt. Next one, there's a knob on the side, and if I loosen up this knob a bit, that's going to now allow me to move the head of the tripod left and right. And if you can remember, that is called panning left and right. If I get to a spot that I want, I can do the opposite. I can tighten this down till it's snug, and now I can't pan or tilt. Those are the two knobs that you're going to be doing to be able to adjust your movement. If you want to be able to have the camera be stationary, I would set the tilt and the pan in one place, make it snug, and let it sit there. If you're going to be shooting an event, let's say, I'm going to be doing a football game or I'm at the rally, I may want to be able to loosen these up so then I can be able to move one direction or another. Let me put the iPad back on here. Now that this is set here, I can be able to pan left and right, tilt it up and down, change the direction of them while I'm filming. So now that you have all this information, last piece I want to show you is there's a knob here, sort of an awkward one that kind of flips out on the side. What this will allow you to do is the tripod, I keep calling it the tripod, the tripod only can go so high, but if I rotate this, this is a sort of a mechanism that can make this thing even higher. So if you want to be able to get and have a sort of an eye level view, put this up all the way, and then there's a knob on the side here that will allow you to tighten that down. That way you can ultimately have, I'll put this at its full extent and see how high we can get this. This of course is used if you want to be able to have that mid-level, medium shot at eye level, which if you remember when we talked about all of our shots, this is the most standard of shots that you can have. So there's my iPad, and you can see here I'm a little bit taller, 6'4". This thing's right about there at about 5'10" kind of height. So there's your iPad. Next, you need to be able to demonstrate this by bringing up the tripod, the mount, and the iPad and demonstrate that you can put all them together. Best of luck.